Well, guys, Canada has an election coming up, and with all the political turmoil that we've been going through lately, the big question is, will Canada learn from America's mistakes? Will America end up just being the warning left unanswered? Will America's actions only polarize Canadians into going further right and getting nationalistic, siding with a right-wing populist just like Trump, because they believe that candidate can protect them against Trump? I don't know how this is going to turn out, but this election, I believe, will determine the future politically of the Western world. If Canada did not learn from America's mistakes, no one else will. Meanwhile, we've got the AfD party pulling ahead in Germany, which is just nightmare. Nightmare, nightmare. And the right is taking over across Europe. Like, we are seeing massive rises in right-wing populism. And I don't know how this is going to go. My only hope is that the lesson people can learn from America actually sticks. That the suffering of America gives the warning to the rest of the world not to pursue this, and the whole rest of the world shifts further left because of what they see us going through. That is my hope. But will it go that way? It's hard to say. Because right now, when it comes to the Canadian election, according to the news cycle, the Liberal lead is shrinking as we enter the final week of the election, or toward the election. April 28th, on Monday, is when the election will actually take place. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Canada doesn't do, like, a presidential election in the same way that we do. You have, like, what are basically, like, House of Representatives races. Or congressional races, where representative members of parties run in local areas are elected, and whichever party holds the majority, their PM candidate leads the parliament, right? Is that how the system works? Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not Canadian. I don't follow Canadian politics, but that's my fundamental understanding. Like, the parliament majority party, their leader ends up being prime minister and leading the parliament. Prime ministers are the leaders of their party, and if their party wins the most seats, they win. So I'm right. That is the situation. Okay, cool. So, yeah, we are seeing that the Liberal lead is shrinking, and that's quite concerning. That's very concerning, in fact, but hopefully it's not by much. I don't know. This is my first to look into the results or the progress of this Canadian election. I don't know how it's going. I'm American. I have not followed this shit. So let's tune in and let's educate ourselves. Lock in, Canadians. Your boy Zan is talking about Canadian politics.
With less than a week to go until Election Day, new Ipsos polling done exclusively for Global News shows the gap between the Liberals and Conservatives is narrowing. The Conservatives now sitting at 38% nationally. The Liberals, though, still hold.
That does not look like Canada is learning from America's mistakes. This really just looks to me like we're just doomed to destroy ourselves, aren't we? Like, we will, out of fear, elect liars and cheats. They will hurt us and never fulfill the promises they made. And we will elect more liars and cheats out of greater desperation, desiring somebody who's actually honest about it, but never going with the person who has the real solution to our problems. Like, are we just doomed to do this forever? Like, Canada is now worried about Trump, so they're going to elect their own Trump? Unfortunately, people don't hate the Conservatives. They hate their leader, Pierre Poilievre. Yeah, but, like, do they not realize that if they vote the Conservative Party into the majority position in Parliament, then he ends up being Prime Minister? In Canadian elections, you can have situations where a party doesn't win a majority of seats, but has more seats overall compared to other parties, but also means that while they form a government, they are at risk of being toppled. So far, this is the most likely outcome of a Conservative victory at the moment. The Liberals mostly control cities, which are split into many smaller electoral districts. Cons are more rural, which is larger but fewer districts. Liberals have more efficiency. If that's the case, that's a better system for dealing with the land voting issue than America has. Assuming like cities where there's a bigger population are broken up into way more small like voting districts that make a difference. That's how it should be done. Like proportional to population, not land.
A 3-point lead over the Tories. The NDP has 12% of the vote, while the Bloc sits at 5% and the Greens at 2%. In terms of who Canadians believe would make the best prime minister, 41% chose Mark Carney, while 30%.
Isn't this guy based as fuck? This guy's based as fuck, right? Jagmeet Singh? I don't know how his name is pronounced. Isn't this guy based as hell, though? I've, like, read a bunch of stuff about him over the years. Like, going back, I want to say, like, 6 years now? This guy's, like, super fucking based. He's part of, like, the more leftist party of Canada, right? Like, this is the Liberal Party. This is the Conservative Party. Isn't this, like, the actually progressive party? Just based on what I know about this guy, I assume that this is the Progressive Party that we would ideally see win. He is, but his leadership has been pretty mid. Ideologically, he's great, but he hasn't led his party very well. Hence, the NDP are currently facing a wipeout. The NDP is generally pretty based, yeah. So, based, but somewhat ineffective, and are basically just sapping voters off of the Liberal Party. So, ideally, and this is a great example of, like, why they're refusing to, like, actually like do harm reduction stuff and saying my vote is for principle is so cringe. This could be a 52% lead the Liberals have on the Conservatives. Instead, 11% of voters are expected to go to a party that literally has no viability to win, even if this means that they get representatives in Parliament. It's like, you're still handing a potential majority over to the Conservatives. You don't want that. This feels like there's more to weigh here on where you send your vote, right? Because, like, you have a representative that you're voting for that represents a very small area. So you would like to be able to spend your vote on potentially electing the best representative that you could go for. But then on the other hand, you don't want to potentially contribute to a lack of votes going to the party that has the best chance of preventing the Conservatives from holding more seats in Parliament. And so it's actually this more complicated than when it comes to American elections, like weighting of things. It's like, do you want local representation that aligns with you at potentially the cost of the wider election? Or do you want to win the wider election at the cost of having a representative locally that represents you? You know, it's like, that's a hard choice to make. Like, you have to make some level of personal sacrifice for the party that you think, that you agree with most, that you think can win, if you're not going to vote based on principle when it comes to this. Like, that seems hard to go with. To defeat Pierre, not surprisingly, the CPC and Pierre went full mask off and saw the ugliness of neoconservatism. Does anyone have a good solution to all this? A solution that would actually prevent the suffering and pain? Excuse me. That's bound to happen if this isn't stopped? Dude, I have no fucking clue. I'm not Canadian. I'm just praying for you Maple Leafs up there. This is literally because we also have First Past the Post, which was supposed to be replaced by Justin Trudeau, but he broke that promise and hurt his popularity massively. Man, that would have been an easy W on his part if he just replaced First Past the Post voting with ranked choice. A big reason why America and Canada are locked into this two-party system is because our candidate elections are based on First Past the Post. Whoever gets the most votes simply wins. And you got to vote on your one candidate. That's it. You got your one candidate to vote for. While ranked choice, it's like, what order do you like these candidates in? And you put the order of which you like your candidates in, right? Like, I like this guy the most. Even if he has a 1% chance of winning, I like this guy the most. So he's my number one. This guy, I like him well enough, but he has the best chance of winning, so I'm going to put him as number 2. And then you go down the list, right? And the reason why it works this way is because if your first candidate, that your ideal candidate, fails out of the race, your vote then trickles down to your second-ranked candidate, meaning that you can dual support multiple candidates. You can support, say, the Green Party if you like them in this instance, until the Green Party candidate is out of the race, and then your vote automatically carries over to whoever you marked in as your number 2, which would be, in this case, like the Dems, right? So your main vote could be a principle-based vote with a backup vote for the Democrats if we had ranked choice instead of the first-past-the-post we currently have.
6% chose Pierre Poilievre. Jagmeet Singh coming in at a distant third with 11%.
Donald Trump and his constant threats to Canada seem to have subsided over the last few days, particularly the last week and a half. And as a result of that,
insane how short of a memory people have, that Trump settling down on that for like a week is enough to affect the lead the Liberals had. Actual dogs. Like, American and Canadian voters, I'm gonna say it, are fucking dogs, dude. Jesus Christ. But listen, you Canadians, you can give us Americans a lot of shit, but that's a lot of motherfuckers voting for the Conservative Party in your country. You still got an extra 11% going with the, I forget what they're called, but the more leftist party. But dude, there's a lot of dumb fuck conservatives seeing what Trump is doing and saying, yes, we want that here too. God damn. Fucking animals.
Importance that issue has had in the campaign has started to decline, and Mr. Poilievre competes better when we're not focused on Mr. Trump.
When it comes to debate performance, Canadians were more inclined to say Poilievre outperformed expectations compared to Mark Carney, with 25% indicating the Conservative leader exceeded expectations, while 21% believe he fell short. Conversely, 21% believe Mark Carney underperformed, compared to 14% who felt he surpassed expectations.
Correct me if I'm wrong, is Mark Carney the current PM? Because my understanding of the situation, and correct me if I'm wrong, he is. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, this is my understanding. Trudeau was the previous leader of the Liberal Party. The Liberal Party won in the last election. He was the PM. Really lost a lot of popularity, and for the sake of his party, stepped down as party leader, and Mark Carney took his place. Has been serving as PM for a little while now, and is now in a situation where he has to actually solidify that leadership position by winning an election. That's the situation? Yes, is that accurate? Did I get it? I don't follow Canadian politics that hard, so I expect I got something there wrong, or missed out on some pretty important details of the story. Okay, apparently that's pretty accurate. Okay. Well, I don't just have that for us to watch. I also have this. Canada Election 2025. Financial expert compares Liberal, Conservative, and NDP platforms. So let's see. Which platform, based on economic experts, would be best for Canadians and their wallets, especially in these trying times economically with the American tariffs, the expectation of boycotting American products and buying Canadian instead, which can sometimes be more expensive than buying foreign goods. Let's see which party actually has Canadians' finances in their hearts. Because I know if you're Canadian and you happen to see this video, probably your number one concern in any election is, will I be able to afford to pay my bills in 6 months? Because if one candidate getting elected means I won't, then I'm not voting for that guy. That's probably most, if not every person when they vote. So let's find out which candidate is, or which party is most likely to help you.
The Conservatives unveiled their fully costed platform on the campaign trail yesterday. It amounts to $90 billion in new measures over the next 4 years. With more on this, we're bringing in money expert Rubina Ahmed-Haq. And Rubina, what more can you tell us about Pierre Poilievre's announcement and how the Conservatives will pay for this?
They say they're going to pay for this platform by cutting jobs, government jobs, through attrition. So
They're literally, this has been a big story as well. Apparently the Canadian Conservatives literally want to make a Canadian Doge. They literally want to do Doge, but Canadian. That is part of their platform. They call it Canadian Doge.
if you have 3 jobs that are lost through attrition, they will replace them with 2 jobs. They say that's going to save about $4.3 billion alone. They want to cut special projects. They want to cut consultants that they say don't really serve a purpose for government work. That's going to save money. They want to cut foreign aid. And all of this, they say, is going to be filtered back into an income tax cut for the lowest income tax bracket, a GST cut on brand new homes, so up to $1.3 million. They say you'll get a
Promising tax cuts is a very effective strategy in basically every country. Like, especially right, I don't know when Canadian tax season is, but we're in tax season right now. We just had it end. Like right after tax season, it is very easy to sell Americans on the idea that we need lower taxes. You know, like that, like right after April, that's when campaigns in election year are hard on the tax cut rhetoric. Real hard on that rhetoric. It works well.
A break on the GST, and that's going to put money, they say, back into Canadians' pockets, and they're going to get that money by doing all those cuts at the top.
All right. Meantime, last week, Mark Carney released his party's platform, Rubina. That included larger deficits and spending cuts. What more can you tell us about the Liberals' proposal?
Yeah, they're also focused on cutting things like special consultants.
By like getting big tax returns, most of these people don't even think about that. If you're actually not very financially well off, you're probably not actually in the long run paying that much to the government. Like even if you owe a decent percentage of your income in taxes, you're probably getting a lot of money back in many different forms. And so you're not actually losing that much. But still, it's easy to get people sold on a conservative like rhetorical strategy when so much of it hinges around the idea of massive widespread tax cuts. It's a big point that Trump won on in this election. And then you got the Democrats who promised tax credits.
And saying that they can save money there. They're saying that they're going to lower the lowest income tax bracket by 1%, and that's going to put per family about $800 back in each family's pockets. They're going to tackle it by spending more money on these projects. They as well announced that they're going to cut the GST on brand new homes. A lot of focus on low income, a lot of focus on affordability, a lot of focus on how Canadians can afford everyday items, and that is what they are proposing right now. They're going to cut that. They're going to get that money by cutting some of that extra spending that the government does.
And finally, the NDP looking at adding nearly $50 billion to the deficit over the next 4 years. What is Jagmeet Singh promising?
Yeah, so he's promising that he wants to make tax-free earning up to $19,500. So you could earn thousands of dollars more before you'd have to pay any kind of federal income tax. He wants to end GST on essential items like gas and baby products.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't it like $4,000 a year or more in America, and all your income is taxable? Is that like what's the case in Canada? I think what he's suggesting is they raise the numbers so that, like, if you make less than $19K a year, you're not making taxable income. Granted, that's Canadian dollars. I don't know right now what the conversion rate is, but, like, that's a fair amount. I feel like that's a fairly popular policy, but obviously we've seen the vote numbers. The NDP is not doing all that hot.
For families that he says was going to put money back in their
fairly
pocket.
late, but not too late.
How is he going to pay for this? He wants to bring back the capital gains tax inclusion rate that was introduced and then it didn't go any further on sale of a secondary property. He also wants to tax the rich. So those who are in the highest income bracket would pay a higher amount of income tax, and that would pay for these projects. Also increase spending
Unthinkable.
for Canadians who are living with a disability. That's what he's proposing.
So yeah, Canadian election. Spicy stuff going on right now, and things are not looking as good as they could be. Man, I'm rooting for you Canadians out there. I'm hoping your election goes well, because if you end up getting your own Donald Trump, you guys will quickly lose the right to give America shit for our election. All right? If this motherfucker, if the Conservative Party ends up taking the victory, you Canadians don't get to dunk on us anymore about Trump, because y'all have done the same thing, and that gap is narrowing. The Conservative Party is catching up with the Liberal Party in Canada. We got 1 week, less than 1 week till the election. You guys got to lock in. If you're Canadian, you're watching right now, please, for God's sakes, if you haven't already, vote. I don't know if you have like mandatory voting in Canada. If you don't, and it's voluntary, then go vote. Vote for the Liberal Party, please. I don't know a lot about Canadian politics, but I know enough to know y'all don't need a Trump. That's pretty standard stuff. Get out there and vote. For your own sakes, and for the sakes of, frankly, the entire Western world politically, do not elect another Trump. The world doesn't need it. Anyway, if you watched this far into the video, I want you to comment down below. Man, what do I want you guys to comment down below? Praise the mother maple tree. Canadians have a mothership, but it's not a mothership, it's a mother maple. Just put in chat, like, or in the comments when this video goes out, if you watch this far and you want to, like, boost the channel and the video in the algorithm, comment down below, praise the mother maple tree. That is where all Canadians come from. It's sap. The sap of the great mother maple is where all Canadians were born. From its wooden placental goo. Anyway, with all that said, if you guys enjoyed, consider leaving a like and a comment on this video. Like I said before, it really does help and it's totally free. Subscribe and ring the bell icon to turn on all notifications so that YouTube actually tells you when I go live or upload new videos in the future. And of course, if you want to see more from me on other platforms, be sure to follow my social medias, which are all linked down below in the description. Excuse me. And on top of that, make sure, if you have the money for it and you feel like it and you want to, you consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live. Or you can support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, StreamElements, Patreon, or buy some custom Xander Hall merch to the Streamlabs link down below in the description. Regardless of how you support me, though, thank you as always for watching, and I really hope to see you again.